Estamos transmitiendo en directo.
¿Para presentar a todo equipo? Un poquito de piedra
Claro.
de cada equipo para hacer el sorteo. ¿Nuestro equipo? ¿Nuestro equipo no ha llegado?
Un segundillo.
¿Cómo aparece el segundo equipo de defensa? Está pensando si va a inglés. Ah, bueno, pues tampoco no tenéis ningún problema, ¿no?
¿No da igual?
Claro, que da igual. Sí, nosotros somos de esta. Nosotros somos de esta. Eso, tenemos uno de café y otro de inglés. No hay problema. Ah, que no hay problema. Que no. Yo no sabía. ¿Tienes eso nada? No pasa nada. Pero que la capa ni chica, que no. Hay algo un poco la. No, no pasa nada. Pero si no está buscando, por favor. Hay que buscar otra.
Esto sí lo vamos a pasar para relatar.
Perfecto. Va a haber un cambio.
Buenos días. Por motivos técnicos, porque un equipo de francés que viene de Granada no sabemos dónde anda. Está de camino, pero no sabemos nada, así que para ir agilizando los tiempos, hacemos un pequeño cambio y lo tenemos aquí el debate en inglés, ¿de acuerdo? Gracias a los dos equipos por prestarse voluntariamente a cambiar el orden y que espero que sigáis disfrutando. Muchas gracias.
Entiendo nada.
A ver, otro equipo de inglés, por favor.
Nos falta el equipo de inglés.
Venga. No fear. Bueno, siento a los dos equipos, muchas gracias, ¿vale? Hay que sonreír un poquito, ¿eh? Así.
Espera, no mueve.
jurados estaban en el enfrentamiento de inglés, del equipo Málaga y Jaén. Concretamente, Elías María Zambrano de Valés Málaga y Elías Sierra Sur de Valdepeña de Jaén. Les deseamos muchísima suerte a ambos equipos. El jurado estará compuesto por los docentes Alberto Hernández Almeida, Cristina Collado Moreno y Francisco Vicente Jurado. Les rogamos que mantengan su móvil en silencio, que comience el debate.
Good morning, I'm Marta, and I'm the introducer of my group because my classmate Carmen is here and I'm going to read. Notable improvement in air quality in Europe in the last decade and fewer deaths linked to the pollution. European Union engineering data shows that investing in better air quality is an investment in improving the health and productivity of all European citizens. Policies and actions conceived with Europe's goals of zero pollution led to longer and healthy lives, as well as more realized societies, has brought in Executive Director of EEA. Has society reconsidered this is really true that we are improving? When will it be necessary to change our way of life if we are already doing it right? Good afternoon to all the attending public, to the judges, to the other team. I am Marta, as introducer and second recruiter, Rafael as first recruiter, and Carla as conclusion. And we are in favor of it being possible to face the climate emergency without changing our current lifestyles. First of all, our argument will be based on the following points. From the educational, social, environmental, technological point of view, and lastly, in the aspect of agriculture. In our first rebuttal, Rafael will talk about environmental education, in which we are going to reflect as with the involvement of secondary school, since many of them have an eco-school project in which the students are taught to be respectful toward the environment. From the social point of view of I'm going to speak in the second rebuttal, in which we will focus on aspects such as where we should continue with our lifestyle, where we should trust society, since we can appeal that this change which we are talking about really exists. In this one, we also focus on the rules of the 3 R's: reduce, recycle, and reuse. Continuing with the second rebuttal, I will speak from the technological point of view. We will give arguments in which we can see how new advances in technology can also help us to cooperative improvement of the environment, in which we are going to invest to electric cars. To finish with the second rebuttal, I'm going to talk about organic farming that promotes a limited environmental impact and requires farmers to respectful use of environmental resources. Finally, Carla will give a conclusion of everything discussed in the debate. And I think we will have the correct answers for the answers that is given to this debate. Even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to peace, I would still thank my advocate, Martin Luther King. Thank you.
Years, 85 days, 16 hours, 39 minutes, and some seconds. This is the time we have to save our planet. There's no more time. There's no room for second opportunities. It's a real problem, and we all should take into account that we must do something. But will it change our lifestyle? That's the question that we are going to talk about during this debate. Good morning to all the present. My name is Marta Espejo, and I'm here to respond to the question by the position against the assigned topic, which was, is it possible to face the climate emergency without substantially changing our lifestyle?
In this debate, I participate along David Solano, second repetitor, Sarah Khan, first repetitor, and Cristina Pedraza, conclusion. We are going to defend that there's a real need of big changes in our everyday life to improve the environment. And we are going to base all our arguments in our thesis that says that to diminish the climate emergency, we must change our consumption habits and our consumerist mentality. To develop these ideas, we have three arguments. The first one is for a change in behavior. A change in a person's life must be considered a part of a change in the lifestyle. And this argument will show how a behavioral change is one of the best changes to improve the environment. The second one is meat industry and consumption. Food production accounts roughly the quarter of the greenhouse emissions that we make to the environment. To improve these extreme data, we must try to change our diet. The third one is changing private transport. One of the most polluting sectors in first world countries is transport. And this means that pollution comes from the personal cars and transport of each one. This means that changing the sector directly translates as changing our way to live, because it would change the way we organize our day and our schedules. The set of these three arguments make our position clear. That is that to diminish the climate emergency, we must change our consumption habits and our consumerist mentality. I would like to finish my intervention with a phrase from Jen Goddard. She said that you cannot get through a single day without having an impact on the world around you. What you make makes a difference, and you have to decide what difference what you want to make. This has been all my presentation. Thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Rafael, and I'm going to make the first refusal of the fact that we can face the climatic emergency without changing our lifestyle. I'm going to speak first about the environment square and the sphere of education, and second about the social act that will take place even in education. Over the years, we have picked out good habits that are holding back global warming. Habits such as recycling, using less plastic, taking more public transport, and trying to consume locally. This has already become something that's routine and natural for us. We do not have to feel forced to act in a specific way for this situation. First, I will speak from the point of view of the environmental education. In our high school, as in other 527 schools, it participates in the Eco School program, which its main objective is to raise awareness of the environment. To propose more ecological measures for the center, these measures include activities such as separation of waste managed by the student and the center. Some centers can even become clean point, creation and care of the school gardens, reuse of what we would have been waste, learning and acquisition of energy-saving habits, collection of garbage in public space, such as forest or square, informative talk for other groups in the community. This is carried out.
Yes, we have data to support that education actually has in the climate emergency.
This, in the case of our school and in other schools of Spain, it shows that the level of cleanliness in the hour of education has rise a lot, and there is no pollution at all in this school. So it has been proved that it works for students. This is carried out with activities, with fun activities, where everyone can participate. For example, vegetable garden, visualization of the effect of pollution, and talk with professionals from the sector. In our school, in addition to all above, we collect garbage throwing in the center. We promote the separation of waste, alternative to the use of aluminium foil, and we have different types of plants in our playground. All this is done without really changing the student habit, and helping the knowledge of pollution and sustainable development. This is reflected in the level of clearness in our center and of the entire environment. This type of alternative to radical change work and are very enjoyable. Now I'm going to talk about the social aspect. So being able to show you a graphic where it seems hold over the year until 2019 an increase of percentage of recycling plastic containers is denoted. Every year this percentage has increased and we continue improving on a large scale. Today the vast majority of people are aware of how to take care of the environment. You can see the change in how we can improve the level of air. Currently, the 83.5% of citizens recycle at home, and on a constant basis, greatly facilitating the process of ending single-use plastic, like the 3 R's: recycling, reduce, reuse, and reduce. This has become routine for many centers and families. This consists in recycling, making new products from material obtained from products that are already used through a transformation process. Reuse. It is involved using again an object that has already been used, either for the same purpose or for other one. And reduce. It means reducing the volume of product that we consume. We should avoid buying necessary things just for the sake of shopping. Thank you very much.
Good morning to all of you present here. I am Sarah Khan, here to speak on the topic of climate change, responding to the question of whether we could confront this climate change crisis by not substantially changing our lifestyle. I would like to start off by thanking the Korean team for their input in this debate. To educate, they defended that to educate the society by, for example, implementing classes like environmental ones would be a good idea. However, we stand that we do not have time for these classes. However, that is why my group and I defend that a drastic change in a person's lifestyle is necessary to fight this climate emergency. We must also remark another argument this team has said about the 3 R's, but we will defend that these 3 R's are just not enough. As we can see in the last year, substantial change has not been made, and the politicians are not making the big enough changes to confront this emergency. That is why it is up to us, the public, to start making the changes that we need before it is too late. The climate crisis is not only threatening our ecosystem, it's also undermining fundamental inequality rights, widening inequalities, and creating new injustices. That is why ethical imperatives must guide our actions. A change in a person's mindset must be considered a change in a person's lifestyle, a different way of considering humans in nature. The change in a person's behavior can both directly affect the changes they want to see and send a signal to politicians about their willingness to accept systematic change. For example, and this news article shows flight shaming in Sweden has seen a 4% drop in the numbers of people flying in airports. This drop has been a result of the Swedish-born movement called flight shaming, where a Swedish singer, Staffan Lindberg, pledged to give up flying as a result of the 22,500 people signed to go soy-free in 2020. As we can see, this is actually, we can see how the power of the people actually can help, and we can confront this crisis with us all coming out together and doing this systematic change. Passing on to the next argument, we will focus on the importance of changing our consumption habits. On a planet rocked by rising seas, expanding deserts, and hotter temperatures, worldwide there are approximately 13.7 billion metric tons of carbon dioxide emitted through the food chain per year. As we can see from this graph, beef produces roughly 12 times more in greenhouse gas emissions than farmed fish, 15 times more than eggs, 20 times more than corn or tomatoes, and even more compared to pulses, nuts, citrus fruits, etc. The impact meat has on our environmental is undeniably a reality, and extremely worrisome. We're all to blame. This is why we should be the ones to fix it by radically changing our way of diet. Changes in what we can eat can add up to real environmental benefits, including fewer toxic chemicals, reduced global emissions, and preservation of our ocean resources. Many experts say, after wasting less food and eating less meat, any other changes a person may make are marginal. Individual consumer behavior matters more than you think. Changing behaviors at the margins and eating a little bit more vegetables will not be enough. So no, this climate crisis cannot be solved without substantially changing our lifestyle. We must immediately and collectively achieve a paradigm shift. Thank you very much.
Good morning again. My name is Marta, and I am the second recruiter of the group in favor of being able to improve the environment without changing our natural things. In my rebuttal, I will talk about technology and ecological agriculture. The technology applied in agriculture is the first great example. Development of improved crops, promoting recent decades with substance scientific evidence to support its usefulness and safety. Biotechnology can provide resistant crops to climate change. Together with this initiative, scientists have managed to obtain other plant-resistant rice varieties. The future will not only be marked by our ability to evolve and adapt to change, and it is that, among the technology to save the environment, they take a special role electric cars and biofuels. They also called green cars are not only restricted to those of the electric type, but they include the cars that consume less to travel the same distance or hybrid vehicles, among others. Move towards a new culture in the industry is essential since, for example, in the United States alone, trees made in cars, buses, motorcycles, and trucks cover an annual distance equivalent to going to and from the sun 30,440 times, according to the protection of the environment of the North American countries. Electrical cars do that generate zero emissions when in operations. It is obvious that the city and the inhabitants will live in come better in this sense. In this graph, I'm going to show how many people use these cars that help the environment. As you can see, in Spain, there are more people that use these cars, so they are in the good way to improve the environment. Yes.
Are you taking into account how more expensive these cars are compared to other vehicles and how not everyone can afford it?
Yes, of course, but we are talking about all these people are using it, so when there are more people using that, it will be easier to afford it. So now it's more expensive, but if we all people use it, it will be expensive. In addition to the people who use public transport, within the study carried out by the National Institute of Statistics, we can watch that there are more people that use public transport than people that use their own car. We can see that 2,092, 322 use public transport and not use their own car that pollutes most. And last but not least, ecological agriculture. Organic farming is a production method whose objective is to obtain food using natural substances and processes. Since it promotes responsible use of energy and natural resources, the maintenance of biodiversity, the preservation of regional ecological balance, improvement of soil fertility, and maintenance of water quality. They avoid pollution and favor biodiversity. Organic food dispensed with chemical substances. About air pollution, soil, water. In addition, by employing more structured techniques, it generates an increased soil biological activity, and they contribute to improve the rural areas. Do you really believe that we have to change the natural habits that we have adopted since we were a child? Without realizing it, we are already doing it with activities that we consider to be part of our daily lives. Do you consider insufficient all the measures we've taken? For us, this is honor. Thank you.
Good morning, I am Alison and I will continue defending our posture. We wholeheartedly stand by the opinion that to diminish the climate emergency, we must change our consumption habits and our consumers' mentality. I want to start expressing my gratitude to the opposition team, as they have defended the point of view in a really effective way. However, we must say that the measures they have explained are not enough to suffice to diminish this climate emergency. They're talking about recycle, reduce, and it's true. However, as we can see in this graphic, plastic is not the only polluting sector and it is not the most important. So even if those measurements were implemented and even if they were, they will not be sufficed to reach the net zero greenhouse gases emissions that the IPCC requires to stop this emergency. Besides, they have talked about schools and classes about environmental awareness. However, schools are not the main problem. Our society is focused on waste. They are trying to revive to waste, and that is the main problem. To think that we can change and to think that we can save the planet without drastic changes is imprudent, because that's what we've been doing till now, and it has not worked. So, she has also explained about transport and how about, for example, electric cars. But as I said, it is not the most affordable option, and many people cannot. So even if more people, as she said, they are transforming into that option, it is not enough, as according to an article from Bloomberg, average consumer will need to make about $7,000 a month to afford the new average bill. She has also talked about transport, which is great because it's also my second argument. I agree with her. We cannot continue taking the car to visit our friends who live 10 minutes away, and it's improving. We cannot do that because with every action we make, we are polluting. What we do matters. On the whole, transportation system, yes?
Do diesel cars really pollute more than electric ones? How do you know? How can you know?
We're talking about the pollution of cars. Well, as you can see in this graphic, this is a report from the emissions of the UK. The transportation system takes up to 23% of the CO2 emissions. However, most of that comes from cars, as you can see in this part of the graphic. That's what I've been saying. We have to change our personal transport, the way we visit. We cannot continue using the car as a daily tool because we pollute and we must change that. People are already starting to realize that we have to stop. As we can see in this news, in London, as the pollution is triggering, people are starting to stop using cars. People are already starting to realize. Now, returning to the point about public transport that she has already explained, Yes, this is a great option. It's cheap and it's affordable for many of us. However, how are we not sure that that is not a drastic change? When a survey, according to the International Manufacturer of Vehicles Organization, actually said that more than 57% of people around the globe will not imagine their life without a car. That means that we depend on them. We cannot live without them, and that, to me, is a drastic change. Of course, if we were to mitigate the climate emergency, we will need to take a deep look into our transportation system. And as I said, what is wrong with it? We have already said how the options are not good. We cannot substitute them with electric cars as they are not affordable. And the public transport is a drastic change in our lifestyle as I've shown. Luxuries must be cut out, but not only in this sector, in all I've shown before. We must change, to meet the climate emergency, we must change our consumption habits and our consumerist mentality. Drastic changes must be made, and people need to know that. So we must follow the lead of the people who are already doing that. Thank you very much.
The weather is changing, and so should we. After the debate that has been skewed by my names, it won't be difficult to answer the question. It is possible to face the climate emergency without changing our way of living? Of course, it is. Hello, good morning, I'm Carla, and I will conclude this debate. First of all, I would like to thank the present audience, the youth, and the Educativo. The other thing has talked about the transport person counts. So, as my classmate Marta has said, there are more people that use public transport than people that use their own cars. And the people can't afford electric cars, there are public transport. But the arguments have not changed our minds. Instead, my position has been based on 4 solid arguments: environmental education, social, favorable technology, and ecological agriculture. Our first argument is environmental education. My team has demonstrated that currently there are a lot of high schools that make children aware of taking care of the environment. They are eco-schools. In the eco-school, students can learn about waste separation, alternate to use aluminum foil. Some high schools become clean points and create and care of a school garden. Also, garbage collection in public place, etc. Our second argument is social. In this argument, we have talked about the large number of people who recycle the items at home. 83.5% of people recycle. And not only that, I would like to emphasize the importance of the 3 R's nowadays: recycle, reduce, and reuse for many people. Our third argument is favorable technology. I would like to accentuate the reference that my colleagues have made to electric cars. They help to improve the environment and reduce pollution emissions. We have shown on a graphic that the state like Spain utilizes a high percentage of electric cars. In addition, the study of the National Institute demonstrates that urban and intracity transport have increased in the last year. Our fourth argument is ecological agriculture. This type of agriculture worries about animal welfare, avoiding pollution in the air, water, and land, and stimulating natural biodiversity. After this debate that has been, it would like to emphasize that this doesn't mean that we should not continue improving, because reality is not perfect. But it is a fact we are in an emergency situation. But we think that thanks to education, a responsible society, a good use of technology advance, and ecological agriculture, we can face the climate emergency without changing our lifestyle. A species capable enough to cause climate change is also capable enough to cease climate change, but only if we realize our mistake in time, and this time is now, because later will be too late. Thank you very much. created by those who do everything, but by those who watch them without doing anything. Albert Einstein. Good morning, jury, opposing team, and public here present. My name is Cristina Regata, and today I will be doing the confession of my team in this debate. With your permission, I'm going to start by commenting on the opposing team intervention. We have exposed 4 arguments. The first one about environmental education, the second one about social habits, the third one about technology, and the fourth one about responsible use of natural resources. Actually, coming to the first argument, we don't have time to educate a whole generation to make these drastic changes, and we are talking about the need to confront the climate emergency. Your second argument was about social habits, plastic. You talk about plastic and recycling, but we have told, and we have evidence with the graphic, that plastic is not the biggest sector, most the most polluting sector in our planet, so it is not really a big issue. Technology, your technology argument was about electric cars, but do you really think that our society is ready to confront the cost of the transition to electric cars, the economical cost that is posed? And your fourth argument was about the the responsible use of natural resources, and you talked about biodiversity and farmers. Now I'm going to comment on my team's intervention, and we have supported our thesis to diminish the climate emergency. We have to change our consumption habits and consumer mentality with 3 strong arguments, which are: first, change in behavior. A change in a person's mindset must be considered a change in his lifestyle, and it of course has an impact on society, politics, and environment. As we have evidence with the news from the BBC about Swedish citizens, by taking a drastic action has an impact, how taking a drastic action, they have an impact on the carbon emissions of their country. We have talked also about meat industry and consumption. In this argument, we focus on consuming habits and in the carbon footprint of the cattle industry. We have evidence with a report of the greenhouse gases emissions of kilogram per food product. And our third argument was about transport impact on the environment. We have evidence with multiple surveys, graphics, and reports from the International Organization of Motors and Vehicle Manufacturers that changing the way we move is a drastic but a necessary step to face the climate emergency right now. In this way, we have proof with our 3 arguments that to diminish the climate emergency, we must change our consumption habits and our consumer mentality, because drastic change must be done, and they are going to change our lifestyle. The time is still running. This requires immediate action. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Bien, muchas gracias, lo había hecho genial y gracias por adelantar. Siento que haya llegado tarde, pero es que hemos tenido que cuadrar el tiempo, la culpa tuya. Ahora os pido por favor, jurado, os reunís un momento así apartadito.